Cool, guys. So let's get started. This is the sixth class of our course, and today's class will be some use cases which we were covering from last class. Then it will be a few more like use case type things. Then I wanted to cover something specifically about wallets. Like a lot of people are asking, yeah, centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, things like that. So wanted to cover a bit about wallets specifically, and then we'll talk about the project. So the thing is, I don't know how much time it will take to explain the project. That's why I'm leaving a good amount of buffer time, and then your doubts. So that way we can cover it. So yeah, let's get started. Last time we were covering the use cases. We didn't cover all of them, so we'll handle them now. So the first one was land titles, where the problem was there is flawed paperwork. Like we spoke last time, it means that the paperwork might not be correct all the time. There, like the correct way to say it is the paperwork does not have integrity, in the sense that even if I were to furnish a paper saying hey, this land is mine, people won't believe it simply because they don't believe the system. It's not like they don't believe me as a person. They just don't believe the system which sort of signed on that paper. So again, that's the problem with forged signatures and unclear documents. That is all because the system, that is the central government, lacks authority in being able to properly control all of the mechanisms which govern the things around creating the title deeds and everything like that. And that causes these pitfalls where there are corrupt officials which are accepting bribes, they're tampering records to suit them their own agenda. And the government just can't support this, in the sense that they're handling some other conflict at the time being. For example, if there are war-torn countries, they don't have the government incentive to handle like property management and things like intellectual property protection. They first need to get things sorted, like how does every citizen get food or things like that. So that is one thing where the government just can't support it, even if it were having the infrastructure to do it. And finally, citizens are mistrustful of government organizations or non-government organizations. It should be N/Geo, but yeah. So how can this be done on the blockchain? You can just use hashes and digital signatures and the transparency and the immutability which a blockchain gives to limit the centralization of these land deeds. What essentially that means is, if I were to like buy a land from you, then it would be put on the blockchain. Every single transaction would be on a blockchain, and you could see like it would be again verified using the hashes and the digital signatures thing which we've covered in previous classes. And because of the transparency and the single source of truth which we consider the blockchain to be, it will limit centralization. And again, simple mechanisms to transfer ownership, like making a transaction on Bitcoin. It will be as simple as taking the land deed, and this person A who owns it and person B wants to buy it for, let's say, 10 ether. So then there's a simple transaction which happens. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be a very complex system. So land titles and other property. This is one thing which somebody had asked, how does one trust that the land titles are even legal to begin with? And that is a very good question. Blockchain is only as good as the information fed to it. So garbage in equals garbage out. If you have garbage which is coming into the system, then no matter how good the pipeline is, the garbage which came in is eventually going to garble up all of the information that flows out of the system. So that is why the information that is fed to it has to be really good. And for that reason, no matter how good blockchain seems, war-torn countries mein tum kar sakte ho and things like that, until they get their basic shit right, like until they ensure that this stuff here is handled properly, this stuff and this stuff is handled, then they can't use a blockchain. So it creates that sort of a loop ki blockchain is supposed to ensure that this stays trustful and things like that. But the only way to create a blockchain with trustful information is to create a trustful government, which is going to feed trustful information into that blockchain. So it creates that sort of loop. And that is why the governments which can approach these kind of solutions, or the ones which can handle the creation of these kind of solutions, are the ones which have the lowest crime rates, the lowest corruption rates and things like that. So these countries are usually typically the Scandinavian countries. I think I have that. So countries which are investigating this are things like Sweden, Ukraine, Georgia. These are all like the typical Eastern European countries or the Scandinavian countries who inherently have very low corruption, very low bribery and things like that, which happen in government offices. And for that reason, they can look at these things. That doesn't mean India can't look at it. We can, but there's a lot of other things which have to come right before India can do it, or countries like that. So yeah, if successful, this can be extended to all entities where there's a proof of ownership. What does that mean? That means land is just the start. After that, you can have a car. And then other things like that can also be taken care of in a car. Like, so if you guys know, the life cycle of a car is 10 years in terms of the Indian tax code. So what happens is, if you buy a 10 lakh rupee car, then there is some depreciation which happens as soon as it rolls off the lot. And then the rest of it is a 10% depreciation every single year. So like if there's a 3 lakh depreciation the second you buy it and then you like put it on the road, then of the remaining 7 lakh, you are going to lose zero point 0.7 lakh every single year. So that can also be codified into that smart contract. Ki, acha, theek hai, this car was bought in 2017 and that car costed, let's say 13 lakh, and somebody wants to buy it from me in 2021. Assuming everything else is working, assuming like the negotiations and all are done, then the base value of this car is already 13 minus 3 minus that 4 ka 10%. So it's 13 minus 7, so 6 lakh it will show in that itself. And then the person can negotiate uske upar if he wants, but that is completely up to the buyer and seller. If the buyer is able to buy it for 5 lakh, then I mean, more power to him. But these things can also be coded. Things like the car's deed, so the car's ownership title can also be linked via the blockchain to the car's information thing, the car's insurance thing. So that can also be taken care of. If the insurance expires, then it will start pointing to a different insurance, like when the person creates a new insurance for it, things like that. And then when the next buyer buys that car, then they will inherit this insurance, things like that. So all of these things can be codified into the smart contract, and that is what it means by saying all entities where there's a proof of ownership can be extended through this idea. So that is there. Any questions on this particular point? Acha, cool. I'll move ahead. So yeah, the next possible use case of all of these blockchain technologies is microgrids. So what is a microgrid essentially? A microgrid is something where you have a grid of houses in like a locality. So assuming that this is a neighborhood and there are just these 3 houses. So what happens in this case is, let's say A has a solar panel here, and A is generating solar energy and everything. All of these are connected to each other. So what, and C, let's say C doesn't have a solar panel, C needs to buy electricity. So C can either buy it from the off, like the off microgrid grid. Essentially what I mean is, there is like a power supplier. Let's say in Maharashtra, there is MSEB, so Maharashtra State Electricity Board, something like that. You can buy it from there, or you can buy it from A itself. And the way you can do that is, the energy which A generates, if that is an excess, then he can push it into the grid, this microgrid, and then that can flow, let's say, from A to B and B to C. And then when C buys that energy in terms of how much ever kilowatt hours that person uses or whatever, then that person can buy that through those tokens. Like essentially, if there is a token in this particular system, which is like 1 kilowatt hour is equal to that one grid, 1 kilowatt hour is equal to that one token. So let's just call that token 1T. And then this guy uses 5 kilowatt hours. So he pays that 5 tokens to the grid, and the grid's blockchain. Like he adds it to the grid's blockchain, and A will say, ki, Acha, I've sold this much. A doesn't care if C bought it or B bought it. A just knows that I put this much into the chain. So if A has sold 7, then he just redeems 7 tokens worth of money. And that way this system can work in like small microgrids. So that's the example here. House A has excess energy, house C needs energy. So the problem with this kind of a solution is, you will need custom infrastructure between A to B to C. That is for sure. This is again the thing where only developed nations have those sort of capabilities to both have like a solar panel and this sort of an infrastructure where there is probably a device on top of the electricity meter which will ensure ki ye sab hota hai. And that device is also probably connected to internet. So that means that device is also going to be the area in which this is also internet enabled, things like that. So all of those things also have to be a prerequisite. Hence, like developed countries is where all of this innovation happens first, then it trickles down to us. But once this hurdle is taken care of, this solution can ensure that all of these financial commitments are settled. So A will only ensure that I put in 7 units, that's why I get 7 tokens worth. I am done. That is my side of the business. And 5 will only pay for what he's used. C will only pay for whatever 5 tokens he's used. So things like that. That is where microgrids is also one of the solutions. And there are companies which are working on this right now. I personally know of one thing. So there is something called Open Solar. You guys can check it out. It's an initiative which is opened by MIT Media Labs. So the US wala MIT. I was actually working with some of the people there, and what they were essentially doing is they have uh, set up a grid like this, but for rural areas in countries like Puerto Rico or Cuba or things like those countries where they don't have the infrastructure to even get electricity from the grid, because there is no grid in these rural areas. So what they essentially do is they put a centralized solar panel somewhere where they know कि अच्छा ठीक है, the land is cheap and everything, and then they run those lines to these villages के schools, and from there they can buy and sell electricity, and based on how much electricity the school uses, they have to pay on based on the tokens which are there. And I don't know exactly how they solved the internet problem. I don't remember how they did that, but essentially that is what they did. So that is also a pretty cool thing. You can check it out. Like, this is a very viable real solution which people are actually working on. So yeah. Now, where are we now? What are the exact current use cases of everything here, and where are the current places of opportunity? Because the reason I am covering all of these use cases is for you guys to look at it ki, acha, this is one opportunity I see, and there are current use cases right now already which are taking care of these things. So maybe I can put my knowledge here and try to develop a solution for the problem I see, and based on that, you can become very rich or something like that. You can become very rich, you can sell it to a big company, things like that can happen. That's a question. So do custom exchanges of these coins need to be set up? No, you can just, you don't need a custom exchange. All you need to do is you need to create a simple smart contract which does the addition and deletion into accounts. So you will need a custom smart contract, but not a custom exchange. And the good thing about that is because all of these tokens are created off the ERC20 standard, the thing I mentioned yesterday. Since that is open source, anybody can create it without having to put in a lot of like effort from code and things like that. So it's very easy to set up. So yeah, exchanges. Let's talk about exchanges now. So there are two types of exchanges. There's decentralized exchange and there's a centralized exchange. So let's get this very clear. Centralized exchanges are the exchanges like Binance, Coinbase, WazirX, CoinSwitch, Kuber, etc. What happens in centralized exchanges? You do KYC. For that reason, your identity is not anonymous anymore. Your identity is not anonymous in centralized exchanges. Every centralized exchange knows exactly how much each person has put in. That is one thing you have to remember. The second thing is, the reason I'm telling you that is if the Indian government decides to take a very wrong turn and they're like, acha, theek hai, we are going to jail every single person who bought cryptocurrency. And if they force WazirX to comply and CoinSwitch, Kuber to comply, then they will have to give every single person's name with their PAN card, with their Aadhaar card, driver license number, whatever you have given to that particular exchange to do your KYC, they will have to give it. So that is the problem of centralized exchanges. But what does centralized exchanges provide in return? One thing is you don't create your own wallet. You don't create and you don't get your own address like 0x whatever wo jo bada sa address hota, you don't get your own thing here. What happens is these wallets are secured and maintained by that particular exchange. So Binance probably has their own wallets where all of the money from all of these people who are depositing and withdrawing from this exchange goes into, and that is how they ensure that essentially it doesn't become too hard on their system to remember that this person had this many accounts and things like that. It's not like that. There are just the ones which are handled by that particular exchange only. That is also good for them because at the end of the day, when we looked at optimization, if I were to buy one Bitcoin on Binance and if somebody was selling one Bitcoin at the same time, they don't have to run that on the chain. They can just run that off the chain because essentially for them, all they see is one person wants to buy it, one person wants to sell it. So off the chain, they will just decrease that value from my like Binance account and add it to somebody else's account. That's it. They don't have to run that actually on the actual blockchain. So that is one huge advantage, and that's why all of you guys were asking why is it that these exchanges take almost 0 minutes to confirm your transaction, because they're doing all of this off the chain optimization. So that is one thing. And apart from that, the other sort of advantage or disadvantage you can call it is it becomes a huge target for cyber attacks, in the sense that Binance has probably 10-20 wallets where they have stored like some millions of dollars worth of Ethereum Bitcoin. Somebody's going to try to hack that. Whereas if you are just a person who has 10,000 rupees worth of Ethereum, you're not a big target for people to go around. So that's why people have started moving to decentralized exchanges. What is a decentralized exchange? In a decentralized exchange, you don't have to do any sort of KYC to trade. All you have to do is you create a account using MetaMask. So MetaMask is something I'll cover in the project part, but that is all you have to do. And you have to use your own wallet. So you have to use your own account. So you have your own address with the 0x whatever, you have your own public key, you have your own secret key, and all of the transactions will be signed by you. Again, to contrast that, every single transaction that you do here either goes through this particular decentralized exchange or actually has to go on the chain. So when you like sell one ETH, you buy one ETH, you swap one ETH for one Bitcoin, whatever, then all of that has to go on Uniswap's chain, or all of that has to go on DY by DX's chain. So because of that, it's a bit slower and the fees are higher, because like at the end of the day, this is also like a ERC20 token. This is also an ERC20 token. This also has its gas fees. This also has its gas fees, things like that. So for that reason, this is a bit slower and this is a bit more expensive. But in return for that, you get one major thing, which is why blockchain was created in the first place, which is anonymity and privacy. If you have a centralized exchange, and if India ever says ki, okay, we have to ban everything, the first thing you should do is open a decentralized exchange account and transfer all of the money here. That is the first thing you should do, because if they decide to seal accounts, then this is the first thing you should do, because here nobody can track you, here everybody can track you. If they ask you where did this money go, that is an answer you'll have to find for yourself. But this is what you should do to save your money. Again, I'm going to edit this part out of the video, but whatever. So moving on. अच्छा ठीक है, चलो यहाँ पे कोई क्वेश्चन है? No questions? Okay, interesting. Cool then.
मेरे को एक क्वेश्चन है.
Okay.
वो जो सेंट्रलाइज्ड एक्सचेंज सिस्टम है, अगर उसमें अपने को पता चल रहा है कि किसके पास कितने हैं, तो वो एक्चुअली में तो डिसेंट्रलाइज हुआ ही नहीं ना. उनके पास डेटाबेस है कि कौन से यूजर के पास कितना, मतलब कितना इथेरियम या बिटकॉइन है, कितना बैलेंस हो, तो पता चल गया.
हाँ नहीं है.
तो अपन अगर ये डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड एक्सचेंज के थ्रू गए तो इनके तो बेसिकली अपन पूरा डेटा रिवील कर दे रहे कि अपने पास कितना यूजर के पास क्या है, और इससे करप्ट एक्टिविटीज नहीं हो सकती. मींस जो भी वो अपन किडनैपिंग वगैरह का बोलते हैं, वो इसके थ्रू तो पॉसिबल ही नहीं है.
हाँ, सेंट्रलाइज्ड एक्सचेंज के थ्रू पॉसिबल नहीं है, बट डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड के थ्रू पॉसिबल है.
अच्छा अच्छा, ओके.
Cool, I'll move on.
और मेरे को मतलब कल पिछले वाले लेक्चर से एक डाउट था, मैंने
यार वो बाद में करते हैं यार. हाँ वो 10:30 तक थोड़ा ये.
ओके, लास्ट में कवर कर लेंगे.
हाँ लाइक काफी स्लाइड्स मुझे कवर करनी है, एंड देन वी हैव टू टॉक अबाउट द प्रोजेक्ट. सो लेट्स सी.
हाँ चलेगा. ओके.
Cool. So this is the current DeFi space. This is just a slide I wanted to put so that we can, like, you can look at this slide and you can do your own research, your own deep dive on कि यार ये क्या करता है, ये क्या करता है, things like that. You can look at these logos and find out. We are going to have a special class on like DeFi later on, which I will like sort of drill down on like the most important use cases. But the point of putting something out here is look at the amount of action in this particular space. That's because DeFi is probably the easiest place to get into, because every single thing which is currently happening in financial markets can be replicated very easily in decentralized finance. Because at the end of the day, what you are trying to do is you are trying to anonymize the user from the thing they are doing. Like अगर मुझे कोई कॉल ऑप्शन करना है, मेरे को अगर कोई किसी ICO में इन्वेस्ट करना है, तो instead of doing KYC and doing it through like some centralized thing, like अगर समझो I think Mrs. Bector या किसी कंपनी का अभी recently IPO था or something like that. So there I would have to go through Zerodha. I would have to do NSDL or CDSL में मेरा KYC, things like that. And उसके बाद I can invest. So they know who's investing in what. Whereas यहाँ पे if there is an ICO, then I will invest completely anonymously. And that is the point of decentralized finance. You are decentralizing all of this stuff. कोई भी कहीं भी invest कर सकता है, things like that. And for that reason, all of these things are popping up easily. So everything that is in current centralized finance can be easily ported to decentralized finance by making all of these changes. And that's why there are so many things popping up. And one great thing about this is if you see every single bucket, there are so many competitors. That's great, because that's the point of decentralized finance. Agar ek hi hota, so that would create huge problems in the sense that that person could run a monopoly and things like that. So for that reason, this is really good. There are so many things, and this is helping the end user, which is the consumer, a lot. Fun fact, Nuo network is actually created by a Bitsian senior of mine. So that's very proud moment. But yeah, cool. Moving on. Web 3.0. So what exactly does Web 3.0 mean? Which network? No network. देख लेना बाद में. So Web 3.0. What exactly is Web 3.0? So to understand that, let's go through the various web, so to speak, versions which happened and understand what changed in every single one. So the first one was Web 1.0, and that essentially created a global library. So we can call the internet an archive of information now. So archive is just a storage place. So what happened is there were all of these static websites where people could post like information about something. But all you could do is get information. It was hard to post something. It was hard to like microblog. It was hard to create all of these things. It's just that you could gain information from there very easily. So that is Web 1.0, and that is the like how it came into picture. Then let's look at Web 2.0. So Web 2.0 was global publishing. Anybody could produce content. This is where things like Facebook, Insta, like all these microblogging sites, Twitter, Medium, all of these things. These are all Web 2.0. So what happened because of that is anybody could produce anything they wanted, but it would be stored on centralized databases. This is because the infrastructure was such that we wanted to make everything convenient and make speeds low for everybody who's using it. That is why ऐसे सब किया. The drawback with that was because centralized databases use करने पड़े for this speed thing. All of these monopolies basically came up. Like all of these companies like Google, Amazon, they're essentially unregulated governments which are multi-country. And for that reason, this is becoming a cause of concern for many people. So people started moving towards Web 3.0, which is a global data bank. These two words, data and bank, are very important in the sense that you can exchange your data. Whatever data you create, whatever data is yours, that is securely stored on something, मतलब किसी blockchain पे stored है, and that is anonymously put there where you cannot trace कि कौन है ये. Like every single transaction I would do on a decentralized exchange would just show कि मेरा account number ने ये सारे transactions किया है. It will never say कि Atharva, who owns this account, has done these transactions. And that is the separation between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. Okay, and that is what people wanted to do, wanted to move towards. And when I mean exchange data, it means that if there is somebody who wants to use this, like for example, if I wanted to use an app which will analyze my spendings on a decentralized exchange, what I will do is I will send my account number and authorize it to look at the transactions I have made. I will not say कि I am Atharva Chandratre who is doing this. I will just say कि I have this secret key for this, and based on that, this is my public key, and I authorize the transaction to allow you to look at my transactions and like create whatever pie chart to see कि मैंने 90% यहाँ spend किया, 10% यहाँ spend किया, whatever. But this is what exchange of data means. It means you're allowing people to use your data, and you consciously know who is using your data. And this is not there in Web 2.0 because, as you know, like I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have noticed this a lot. Ki if I Google something on Google and then I go on to Amazon.com, that shows up as ads. Or if I go to Facebook, it shows up as ads. And after a point, it's creepy. So this is something which the global data bank is going to ensure doesn't happen, because like selling basically selling a person's data is straight up unethical. And this is something blockchains are working towards in a very strong way. So yeah, that is Web 3.0. And there are Web 3.0 equivalents for everything. So you have browsers. उसमें पहले Google Chrome use करते थे. I unfortunately still use Google Chrome because I'm very heavily tied into the Google ecosystem. But people can use Brave for that instead because it's an app. Storage wise, you have Google Drive, you have Dropbox. Now you have something called storage. We had spoken about this in proof of capacity. Video calls के लिए you can use Experty. There are specific OSs which are completely based on Ethereum. EOS was a huge thing. EOS is sort of like a dead project now. I don't know why. One sec. Yeah, so EOS. Yeah, okay. So EOS is basically a dead project now. And I don't know why, like ऐसी valuation उसका बहुत ज़्यादा था. At one point, EOS, the project, was worth $17 billion. So $17 billion. Now it's worth.
Hi.
Yeah.
We couldn't hear you. Your voice was breaking a lot. Can you repeat the slide?
Yeah, at what point? From the slide ka start?
Since the beginning itself, like since Google Chrome.
Acha, cool. So essentially, yeah, thanks for bringing it to my notice, and please do that क्योंकि कभी-कभी chat box दिखता नहीं है. But yeah, thanks for that. So essentially, there are Web 3.0 equivalents for every single Web 2.0 thing. Like for example, there is a web browser called Brave, which is essentially built on Ethereum and dApps and things like that, which is I would say much better in terms of privacy than Google Chrome. I unfortunately still use Google Chrome because I'm heavily in the ecosystem. But if you can change to it, then definitely that will be good. Storage wise, also you have Dropbox and things. Now there's something called storage, which we spoke about in proof of capacity. So that is one thing. Similarly, for video calls, this is a thing. Operating systems, there's something called EOS, which was a huge deal once upon a time. It was valued at, I think, 17 billion or something like that. And now it's not worth anything even near that. So I don't know uska kya ho gaya exactly. I'll have to like check it out. But there were solutions to build complete operating systems on this. Social networks, there's all of this. There's also a decentralized YouTube. I forgot the name of it, but ye bhi ho raha hai. There is status instead of like WeChat and all of that stuff. And for remote work, instead of Upwork, there's Etlans. There's also stuff like you can get grants on Gitcoin and things like that. So aise sab hai. So these are essentially equivalents. The reason I put this slide up is because you should understand that the world is moving to a place where all of these centralized things can be phased out and will be phased out soon. So it's just a matter of when. It's a matter of who puts in the effort to create this. Like somebody put in the effort to create this. So whoever does that, they get that complete pie. So you just have to find an industry where there is only a Web 2.0 app and then create the equivalent Web 3.0 app. And then you're making bank essentially. So yeah, let's handle wallets now. There are some slides I'm skipping in between. How do these apps or sites earn then? Transaction fees. So essentially, a lot of it is based on like are there transaction fees. Again, all of these things have different business models. Like Brave ka, there's something where if you decide to sell your info or something, you get money or like something like that. I don't exactly know. And then they also, if you authorize them to sell it, then they get something. I don't exactly know this. Don't quote me again. But har cheez ka different hai, and I don't know the answer to that. Cool. I skipped a few slides in between because I want to handle the wallets part first. वो slides हम बाद में कर लेंगे. So what are wallets? There are two kinds of wallets. One thing is provides. So let's first look at what do wallets do. The first thing is they provide a user interface to the blockchain, and they keep a track of your private key. This is because the private key is like a bunch of gibberish. You don't set your private key, तो भूल जाते हो कि क्या है ये private key. And if you forget your private key, then you're essentially screwed. All of the money which was in that particular wallet is now gone. You don't know how to access it because you don't have the private key. So it provides a user interface and it keeps track of it. With a wallet, you can store money into it. So you can keep money as it is in that. You can send or receive. So any kind of transaction, and you can list the transactions. So if I have a wallet, I'm using a wallet provider, I can query the blockchain for whatever transactions I've done till now. It will return that ki, acha, theek hai, this is your address. And this address ke side pe, there are all of these transactions. So that is what a wallet can do. There are also some other fancy functionalities some can do, but I mean, that's completely app based. And one wallet can handle multiple accounts. So that is one thing to note. It's a one-to-many mapping. One can hold many. You can also have many wallets, but it's usually preferable to have one wallet because like one wallet provider can hold all of your transactions, everything very well. And then you can have multiple accounts for everything. Now there are two major types of wallets. One is a hot wallet and there's a cold wallet. So what's a hot wallet? A hot wallet is any wallet which is directly connected to the internet. So all of these wallets which you have, Binance ka wallet, your Coinbase ka wallet, these are just screenshots of it. So these are all hot wallets because they're directly connected to the internet all the time. And you should use hot wallets only when they're being transacted to and from regularly. In the sense that if you are going to buy and hold Bitcoin, and by hold, you're probably going to hold it for a year or 2 years, things like that. Then instead of taking the risk of having it hacked from one of these centralized exchanges, you can just pull it off into some cold wallet, which we'll talk about, and you can keep it safely there forever. The upside to this obviously is having funds easily available. So if you want to make a quick transaction, if you want to say, if you see ki acha theek hai, Matic ka price is going up, which you guys, I hope you saw that yesterday. Matic ka price went up like I think 25% in 24 hours, which is insane. So that if you want to quickly swap some Ethereum into Matic and take a part of that bull run, then you can have funds easily available through these hot wallets. And this is usually in an exchange app or it's self-managed. Usually people do this exchange app. Like usually 99% of people just take Binance ka wallet or Coinbase ka wallet or like WazirX ka wallet, something like that. So then the question is, what's a cold wallet? So cold wallets are ones which are not directly connected to the internet. It's something like this sort of like a pen drive. It's a very small pen drive, like the size of your typical SanDisk K pen drives or something like that. Or it's a paper wallet. So I'll get to that in a sec. For long-term storage, what does that mean? That means that you are sure you're not going to use that amount of Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever for a long time. So you can store it on that pen drive off the chain. And accounts, and again, that should be from accounts which are not transacted to or from regularly. The way it works is because this secret key and public key are stored on the medium itself. So the chip on here is smart, and it knows what happens is this creates its own like wallet. Like it creates its own accounts and things like that. And when you transfer money from a hot wallet to a cold wallet, the transaction is created such that it goes from here into your pen drive, and it's just seen that this particular account is now offline. So utna hi ho jata hai. And if you ever want to make transactions from here, you have to plug in the pen drive, use the secret key which you've stored somewhere. You probably had to store the secret key somewhere, and you're going to have to authorize it, just like if you had like a zip file which is password protected. You would have to use that to authorize it, and then you could send funds from this cold wallet into the hot wallet and then start making transactions. So you can't send money directly from a cold wallet into like a mining pool or something. You have to go from cold wallet to hot wallet, and then from hot wallet you can do whatever transactions you want. So that is there. And this is safety from hackers, because yeah, this is completely off the chain. Iska secret key, iska public key, sab iske paas hai. So nobody's going to be able to guess it. If somebody can guess it, then I mean, yeah, that's hack kar liya. But it provides an added layer of safety over all of these Binance ka wallets and things like that, which are actively being used. So that's there. And yeah. Okay, one more thing about paper wallets. So you can see this. Okay, yeah, I think my internet abhi ek second ke liye gaya, but hopefully you guys can hear me now. So I hope you guys can see this and this. These are the public key private key pairs on this on this wallet. So you can see कि ये private key का QR code है और ये public key का QR code है. So what happens is you print this out and you can take it from there itself. अरे यार आवाज नहीं आ रही है क्या? अच्छा, can you hear it now? अच्छा, cool.
बराबर है.
Okay, cool. तो फिर essentially this is a paper wallet. मतलब क्या होता है? You print it out properly. You print it out using a printer and things like that. And this is the private key, and this is the public key. So this is the QR code of the private key, and this is the QR code of the public key. Essentially what that helps with is, if you ever want to, again, you don't have these kind of pen drives, but you just want to store it off chain, you can do this. And when you want to do a transaction from here, these allow you to directly make transactions, because yahan se you can just scan the private key and you can use it to sign whatever transaction you want. And this public key can then be announced, and you can, like, anybody can verify the transaction and mine it. So that is how these paper wallets and these other wallets work. So yeah, project time. Now I hope internet ko koi problem nahi aata, because now I'm just going to handle what the project is and how it's going to look like. So yeah. So how does a smart contract get deployed? That is one thing we'll be looking at right now. So I'm going to run you through how smart contracts are deployed in actual development. Yeah, so I'm going to run you guys through how smart contracts are developed and deployed in actual development environments. And then I'm going to show you guys a way to do it without having to know any code. And then I'm going to tell you what you guys have to do. Okay. So this is something called Remix. Remix is an IDE which is online. Okay. It's a website. What this can do is you can write whichever code you want, and it can deploy it to whichever Ethereum blockchain you want. So यहाँ पे, for the time being, I will create a workspace. Okay, I'll just create a temporary workspace. And यहाँ पे, this is again for the sake of example, I'm just showing you how it's done really. In, like, if you were to join as a smart contract development intern, this is how it is done. Okay, well, there are more things, but this is one thing. So let's say I create something called integer.solve. So now what I've done is I've created a smart contract file. Now there are some things which every smart contract file needs to have. Like let's say in every single language, there are some import statements, things like that. So let's just look at something. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this boilerplate code from here. This is again, these are auto-generated files. These come from the website itself. So who is showing it? So I will change the name to integer because that's the name of our file. And I will change this to uint8. Don't go into technicalities ki ye क्यों change karo, just for the time being समझिए. So uint8 है. Great. So now we have a sort of integer function, and what that does is you can create an integer, you can store that integer. हाँ क्या हुआ? अबे यार
आवाज चली गई थी बीच में. Can you repeat that part?
But ठीक है. Essentially what I said is यहाँ पे I'm essentially showing you how it's done in an actual development environment. So what I've done is I've created a basics of file जहाँ पे there is just an integer which you can store and you can retrieve from. So those are the only two things which you can do. And the third thing which you can do is let's create a function which you can increment, and कोई parameter नहीं लेगा, public है, returns. Syntax light low. I'm just doing it to show you an example. And plus one return. What I've done here is I've essentially created a little thing jahan pe there is an integer which you can take and you can store to it, you can increment it, and you can retrieve it. Those are the three things you can do. Okay, now you might ask, how do you deploy this to the actual chain? So the way it's done is first by looking here, and यहाँ पे वो solidity की side पे एक tick आ रही है. That means that it's been compiled. So essentially what you do is you click on compile and ये compile हो जाता है. For example, if I were to pull this out, then ये because auto compile मैंने on किया है, ये बोलेगा कि ये expect semicolon कर रहा है. So I put it and now it compiled itself. So now it's done. Now when it comes to deployment, what we are going to do is we are going to deploy this to something called a injected Web3. Injected Web3 क्या होता है? That means that you are using something like MetaMask to inject whatever thing you are doing in this particular web page onto some decentralized thing like a blockchain. So that is what injected Web3 means. So I'll click on injected Web3 and it automatically detects कि I want to put it on this network. The reason is यहाँ पे I have MetaMask open and this is a test account. So as you can see यहाँ पे जब तुम MetaMask बनाओगे वहाँ पे there are all of these accounts and you can either have Ethereum mainnet पे account, you can have Ropsten पे account, etc. etc. For this particular project, we will be using Ropsten as our test network. All of these are just names. They have certain technical differences and there's no specific difference कि अच्छा ये Ropsten क्यों है, Kovan क्यों है, whatever. We'll just be using Ropsten for the time being because it's the easiest to use. Now, what you can see is यहाँ पे there is this account which you can see that is 0xC3 CE0 whatever. That is the same as what I have. So you can see that ये सारे account same है. That is because it's picked it up from there. Now you can see कि यहाँ पे there's a gas limit which is set. There's a value which is set. In Remix, if you set the value as 0, then you're not setting a gas limit. But अगर मैं 100 set कर देता हूँ, then that is a gas limit. But 0 is like infinite gas limit. ऐसे होता है यहाँ पे. So now I will click deploy. यहाँ पे ये deploy हो रहा है. Now it opens MetaMask and it asks me कि अच्छा this is the amount of gas which is going to be needed. So do you want to confirm this transaction? So I'll click on confirm. Now you can see here कि creation of integer is pending. Make this bigger. Yeah, here we go. So you can see that it's saying creation of integers is pending. Now I can go to this website. This is Etherscan. Remember the quiz के वक्त मैंने बोला था ये block explorer होता है. So essentially this block explorer will see कि कहाँ क्या changes हो रहे हैं, things like that. And you can see कि ये transaction हो रही है. This transaction is our transaction hash. It's showing the status as pending. It's showing कि कितने seconds हुए since I started this transaction. And you will see from and you will see the 2. So the 2 here is contract creation. And जब contract create होगा तब खुद का contract account बनेगा इधर जो यहाँ पे आएगा. I'm sure you guys are going to have to probably rewatch this video, तो वो थोड़ा हो सकता है. But yeah, now you can see that this contract has been created successfully और ये contract account बन चुका है. If we go back to Remix, we'll see कि the transactions recorded here are this much and it knows कि ये deploy हो चुका है. So like Remix is smart in the sense that it can pull data from there and see. So now we can see all of this stuff. Now if I click on retrieve, it's going to call integer retrieve and it's going to return this value. तो यहाँ पे you can see कि अभी value 0 है. That's because हमने कुछ डाला नहीं है इधर. Now if I say that I want to set the value of this integer to 5, then what I'll do is I'll put 5 here and I'll hit store. Now what's happening is it's calling this function. And if you saw कि यहाँ पे it said it's transacting to integer store. So what this means that it is going to call this particular function in this particular smart contract using this account. So ये जो मेरा externally owned account है, that is going to call this function in this particular contract account. So यहाँ पे ये जाएगा, it will ask me for confirmation to send this. And when I click on confirm, it's going to do this transaction. Again, I can go to the Etherscan website and it will show that this is pending. So this will take some time. I think as we spoke, this is going to take at least 72 seconds because 6 blocks का confirmation है and each block is 12 seconds. So it takes around that much time. But again, this depends, this is different from testnet to testnet. Some testnets don't follow that, some testnets do. This one took 43 seconds. So like it changes. And you can see all of the details. किस block में ये mine हुआ, मेरे account से गया, things like that. And the amount of gas used, things like that. So all of that is done. Now, if I were to hit the retrieve function, what it will do is it will return this. And अभी ये यहाँ पे 5 आ गया. The reason I did not have to open MetaMask for the retrieve function is because of this view keyword. What view essentially means is there is no change to the state when calling this function. And what that means is you can query the blockchain for free, but if you want to make any changes to the blockchain, then you have to pay money. So for that reason, retrieving some value from the blockchain was free, and that's why यहाँ पे it did not tell me कि अच्छा MetaMask जाओ और ये confirmation करो, things like that. यार आवाज आ रही है ना मेरी? मैं ऐसे ही बोले जा रहा हूँ.
हाँ आ रही है.
अच्छा cool. हाँ cool. So again, when I hit increment, यहाँ पे क्या होगा is यहाँ पे there'll be a function which gets called. यहाँ पे MetaMask आएगा, confirmation के लिए बोलेगा, and एक transaction का hash आएगा. Again, ये सब validate हो जाएगा. So it will be reflected in a short while बोलता है. Yeah, so it's been successful. This transaction has happened. And now you can see that ये यहाँ पे it also shows कि ये हो गया सही से. Now when I hit retrieve, it will show that the value is 6. And this was also called to the chain. So this is how actual development is done. Now I understand a lot of people here don't understand code, but the people who understand code, they can do this. I'm going to show you a way to do it for people who don't know how to code and things like that. I just wanted to show you the development aspect of it, कि ये होता कैसे है, like in the actual thick and thin of it, how it works. So this is just an example of how it's done. Like you can again see यहाँ पे ये contract का address and things like that. So now there is something called Simba chain. So Simba chain का main motive is this कि अच्छा ये loop हो रहा है, अच्छा रुको. So the point of Simba chain is to create something which is website. This. So either you can know all of these things. You need to know Web3 क्या होता है, Ether wallet कैसे करते हैं, JavaScript, Geth, Node.js, MetaMask use कैसे करते हैं, Etherscan. Either you need to know all of this, or you can just use Simba chain. And Simba chain is a fantastic UI. मतलब it is able to make all of these smart contracts very easily without much without much knowledge, and you can deploy it to all of these test networks. So I'll log in here and I'll show you what I mean. When you log in, you're going to have to log in with your Google account and things like that. यहाँ पे I've just created a temporary free thing. So what you can do is first you will go to this thing called smart contracts. So smart contract के इधर Solidity में जाओगे, and you can see all of these smart contracts which I've created for the time being. यहाँ पे when you click on plus, you can see all of these various things. So you can either add an asset, you can add all of these things. But I'll go and I'll show you what they have done as examples. So back button का है. तो these are these default contracts which they've given to us. So I'll open container demo and I'll show you what it means. Yeah. So this is like one of those typical like diagrams which they've created to show the transactions between a bank and a shipper and a seller and a broker and a carrier and a buyer. So essentially what happens is there's a buyer who sends the seller a transaction, and then that seller will tell the shipper to take it. The shipper will call the carrier कि अच्छा ठीक है ये लेके जाओ, all while calling the broker and saying कि यार ये बैंक से बोलेगा कि मतलब keep this payment whatever it is until the thing reaches the buyer, and all of these things like purchase order, all of these things. So essentially what is happening is these are all assets and these are all transactions. So these arrows are transactions and these red things are assets, and you can add a relation कि मतलब how is this related to that, things like that. What this does is यहाँ पे all of these things I can draw and I can convert all of this code to code. So I can click this one button and it will process all of these diagrams. It takes a sec and ये पूरा code spit out करेगा सीधे से. So all of this code is essentially what was there. And ये जो relation है that is जो हमने arrows draw किए. So you will see that some things are common. मतलब bank और ये मतलब ये name common है. ये underscore buyer है. मतलब that is its own thing. Seller, supplier, all of these things. So what is essentially doing is it is creating a code equivalent of the graph you drew. Now I don't expect you guys to draw a graph which is this insane. You can take a very simple example. You can just take अच्छा ठीक है there is an integer. उस एसेट को तुम बनाओगे इंटीजर नाम का, एंड देयर इज एन इंक्रीमेंट फंक्शन एंड देयर इज अ डिक्रीमेंट फंक्शन. उतना ही करो, दैट्स आल्सो टोटली कूल. बट द प्रोजेक्ट इज दिस. You can go to this website called Simbachain. Okay, you will go to this place called Simbachain. यहाँ पे you will create a new one. यहाँ पे you will add an asset something like integer, and then you'll add a transaction. The transaction can be increment, and there's another there can be another thing called decrement. So यहाँ पे ये आ गया, यहाँ पे ये आ गया, and then you can add a relation. And another relation here. That's it. If you want to create that much also, that's fine. And then you can switch to code view. It will process all of this, and it will create this code. Okay. Now as you can see, यहाँ पे increment decrement का function add नहीं हुआ है, in the sense that it doesn't know कि अच्छा increment means कि you want to do integer is equal to integer plus 1, and that's fine. I don't expect you guys to write the functionality of what you guys are creating. All I expect you guys to do is understand कि ये graph कैसे बनता है, क्यों बनता है, and create one on your own. After you are done creating that, you can see कि ये code ऐसे बनता है, and when you go back, this is how you deploy it. So we have created this thing, and now if I hit save, so it will ask me to save it as new. So I'll say temp demo for the time. You guys name it something proper. So now it will save this particular contract to my account. This takes a while. So yeah. After this, we'll be deploying this to the Ethereum test network. So that is why you should also have MetaMask. So MetaMask download करके रखना, उसका account वगैरह बना के रखना, and I'll also show you how to get Ether to do this. तो यहाँ पे ये ट्रायल ऐप मैंने ऐसे ही बनाया था, ये lightweight. You want to click the plus button here to deploy this app. So when you click plus, it will say कि अच्छा there are these kind of blockchains which we can allow you to deploy it to. Which one do you want to choose? So you will click Ethereum here, and you will select mainnet or testnet. तो यहाँ पे बहुत सारे options आएंगे. You choose Ropster, and then you click on continue. Now it will say off-chain file system कौन सी चाहिए. We don't end up using any of this file system, so that's fine. IPFS default choose कर लेना. Then it will ask you which smart contract you want to use, and this from this drop down you find the one which you created. तो temp demo मैं बोलूँगा, and I will say continue. Now ये API name कुछ भी बोल सकते हो, temp demo डाल दो, temp demo API डाल दो, कोई बात नहीं. You can do that. You can click on continue, and then now it will ask you for your Ethereum account. So I already have one here called Atharva's wallet, but when you create this, you can ask for another one also. So अब इसका मैंने पासवर्ड क्या डाला था, Okay, this is a bit of an issue. अच्छा ठीक है, not an issue. I think there's probably a way to create your own your own this thing here. So what I'll do is I'll create a new account for the time being. Okay, so this is another account which I've created, and can I create this here? अच्छा रिमूव ऑल. ओके कूल. सो यहाँ पे रिमूव कर लिया, एप्लीकेशन पे वापस जाता है. Now let's just follow these steps again a bit quickly. So we choose Ethereum wallet, we choose Ropsten, continue. We go to the file system, default choose kar lena. Choose the smart contract which you created, so temp demo. Then API name, you can just choose anything you want, temp demo API, continue. And now it will ask me, no Ethereum account found, do you want to create a new one? So you say add new. Now अब यहाँ पे मैं सही से डालूंगा इस बार. So I'll say create a new Ethereum account and the wallet name will just be Simba, whatever. So it will create this now. So this is a local wallet which is created. And now I will say Ethereum account कौन सा है, तो ये वाला. Okay, now you can see ये जो account है, this has 0 ether at the time being. What does that mean? That means कि I cannot do any transactions here. For example, if I click on deploy, it will do the whole apply configuration, things like that, but it will fail because it doesn't have enough money to pay for the gas. So apply configuration बोलेगा, processing बोलेगा, and then it will fail. So let's wait for it to fail. So it said error occurred, you can close this, and details में ये सारा आएगा, which essentially says कि you don't have enough gas money. So how do you add ether to a test network? So to add ether to a test network, you have something called a faucet. So a faucet is just a term which is used. सारे test network का एक faucet होता है. So I have this website open, which is your Ropsten Ethereum faucet. ये तुम Google करोगे तो भी आएगा, नहीं तो ये website पे जाओगे तो भी आएगा. So you can see कि ये जो account है उसमें it currently has 0 ether. What I'll do is I'll copy this this Ethereum account address. I will go here and I will enter it here, and I'll say send me test ether. You're great. Okay then, that's an issue. So essentially what this does is check in deposit सीधा. अच्छा cool, not an issue here. So essentially what you'll do is you'll enter this and एक ether तुम्हारे पास आएगा, and then when you click deploy, all of it will deploy properly and you'll be able to see it on the main chain. Like you'll see all of the details about it on the main chain. So that is how this will work. एक बार deploy करके देख लेना, application बन जाएगा. So what do I expect from this particular project from you guys? I expect two things. First of all, I expect you to create a smart contract ka demo in using Solidity. So if I go to this graph mode, I expect you to create something like this, where this is the asset and these are the functions which you can do on that particular variable. So तुम ये ऐसे एक बनाओगे. I want a screenshot of this, and then उसके बाद when you create this application, it will deploy that smart contract somewhere, right? So for example, this temp demo thing, I don't think it got deployed, but whatever. So once that happens, I want you guys to send me the contract address of the deployment. Like in Remix, you can see कि यहाँ पे this is the contract address. So when I copy this and when I go to Etherscan, I can go to etherscan.io and I can enter this address. This address shows कि this is अच्छा. हाँ, so essentially this will show कि ये Ropsten के test network पे चल जाएगा. हाँ, so as you can see, this is a contract which it identified correctly, and it shows कि ये last 3 transactions क्या हुआ है, and it shows कि किस transaction से मतलब किस address से हुआ है, और the 2 addresses the contract का address, and it can also show the other events which happened along its way. So I want you guys to send me the contract address of whichever contract you create, either using Simba Chain or using Remix. Anything is cool. If you know how to code, you can use this. If not, you can use Simba Chain to deploy. And send me other people who are using Simba chain, send me the graph, ye graph. So those two things, you can just put it in a Word document and send it to me, or I don't know, you can create a comment or whatever, that is up to you. But वो दो चीजें मुझे send कर देना, and based on that I'll grade you. Again, there's no grading का thing here. It's just based on how much you learn and how much you see कि तुम्हें कितना समझ में आया and things like that. So that is the project. Any doubts? MetaMask is a wallet provider type thing. So essentially what MetaMask does is तुम्हारे जो भी websites है वहाँ पे it signs you in as a Web 3.0 provider. It is, you can think about it as if you've gone to a website and it says sign in with Google. तो वो साइन इन विद गूगल क्या करता है, तुम्हारा गूगल अकाउंट लेके तुम्हें साइन इन कर देता है उस चीज में. तो MetaMask is similar to that in the sense that what it does is it takes your Ethereum account address and uses that to sign in. So it uses your Ethereum account address as your identity to sign in somewhere. Yeah.
मुझे कुछ पूछना था, इसमें मतलब एक्चुअली लिख के सब उसके अंदर जो उनके अंदर अपलोड कर सकते. हेलो.
हाँ वैसे भी कर सकते हो. दैट्स आल्सो गुड पॉइंट. मतलब अगर तुम्हें इससे, जैसे मुझे इशू आ गया यहाँ पे, अगर तुम्हें यहाँ सॉलिडिटी से ये कोड, मतलब ये कोड दिख रहा है तुम्हें, और तुम्हें अगर चाहिए तुम ये कॉपी पेस्ट करके यहाँ पर डाल सकते हो. यार तेरा वॉइस थोड़ा ब्रेक हो रहा है. आई डोंट नो बस मेरे लिए है या सबके लिए, बट वापस एक बार बोल सकता है. तो आई कांट हियर यू, बट व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज, अगर तुम्हें सिम्बा चेन से नहीं करना है, बट सिम्बा चेन से तुम कोड ले सकते हो एंड यू कैन पुट इट इन रीमिक्स, एंड तुम यहाँ से डिप्लॉय भी कर सकते हो. दैट्स ऑल्सो फाइन. मतलब यहाँ पे ये कंपाइल हो गया, देन यू कैन गो हियर, इंजेक्टेड वेब 3 तुम्हें दिख रहा है, एंड यू कैन डिप्लॉय दिस temp.sol. अब ये यहाँ से डिप्लॉय हो जाएगा, तुम कंफर्म क्लिक कर सकते हो, and you can go here and you can see that this is pending, and once it gets deployed you can see कि ये transaction का address वगैरह क्या है. I don't know why Simba chain मेरे को ये issue दे रहा है, but you can use this instead. The sheer fact that it said कि your IP address has given too many requests, that itself shows that Simba chain is not decentralized. Like, you get my point. It was basically keeping a track of the number of times I've done this, and it was doing that using my IP address, which is essentially centralization. So this is just a UI on top of Ethereum. सब लोग यही यूज करते हैं डेवलपमेंट में. तो भाई
अगर मेरे को सीखनी है तो कहाँ से सीख सकते.
अच्छा, तुझे सॉलिडिटी सीखना है. अच्छा, सो दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच आई एम प्लानिंग टू कवर इन माय एडवांस्ड इथेरियम कोर्स. तो आई विल बी क्रिएटिंग वन इन द फ्यूचर. तो उसमें आई विल बी कवरिंग कहाँ से सीख सकते हो, क्या सीख सकते हो, डिप्लॉयमेंट कैसे करते हैं, फ्रंट एंड कैसे बनाते हैं, थिंग्स लाइक दैट. अभी के लिए आई कैन सेंड यू सम रिसोर्सेज ऑफलाइन इफ यू आर इंटरेस्टेड, बट लाइक अगर तुम्हें प्रॉपर अगर डेवलपमेंट सीखना होगा कि ये कैसे करते हैं, देन आई कैन टीच दैट इन लेटर कोर्स.
मीन्स अपन जैसे अभी तुमने बताया जैसे कि डेमो जैसे अपन डिप्लॉयमेंट करके अगर अपने को ऐसा इंचार्ज ढूंढना है तो वो सब थोड़ा आना, वो सीखना है, तो उसके लिए मैं रिसोर्सेस का पूछ रहा हूँ.
यार तू टाइप करके दे सकता है क्या? मेरे को ऑनेस्टली सुनने में नहीं आ रहा है कि तू क्या बोल रहा है.
अच्छा सर, I had a doubt कि अगर if I am making any smart contacts in this app or something,
Mhm.
then does it apply to my like, will it go into my main you know, the blockchain account that I am creating?
Main one, as in you mean the one which is on your main Ethereum network, like the actual Ethereum network?
Yes.
No, so it doesn't.
Yes.
So essentially, ये जो test networks है, they are parallel
हाँ.
copies of the Ethereum network in terms of its protocol, but the transactions which happen on the Ethereum main network are not copied onto these networks. ये बस testing के लिए है. This is like if you've created a contract and you want to see कैसे चल रहा है, then instead of spending actual money and putting it on the test on the main network, you put it on one of these test networks and see. So that is what these test networks are for, and it won't reflect. Like if you saw अभी Etherscan का मैंने जब पहली बार डाला था तब इशू क्यों आ रहा था, मेरे को ये दिख क्यों नहीं रहा था, is because there is a different Etherscan for normal and there's a different Etherscan for Ropsten. तो अभी तुम्हें दिख रहा है, तो मैंने जब ये एड्रेस डाला, this doesn't exist on the actual Ethereum network, but if I put it on the Ropsten का testnet, then you can see if I enter this transaction का thing, ये आ गया, ये यहाँ पे डालूंगा, तब यहाँ पे ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दिखेगा. दैट इज व्हाई दिस Etherscan is able to differentiate between all of these networks because they are all essentially different networks, and ये यहाँ पे Ropsten पे ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, whereas ये यहाँ पे एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता. I'm asking where we can find resources to learn to the level where I'm capable of having basic understanding or getting an internship. भाई ये last class में बताऊंगा internship वगैरह के लिए क्या होता है, things like that. And again, as you're saying, programming and learning Solidity, this is again one of the more fundamental things which you need to know to get an internship. Solidity is like the basics. It's like you need to know C++ to get an internship in some company. वैसे it's like Solidity but for blockchain companies. That is something which I do plan to create a course on, because the resources are too widespread in the sense that अगर तुम्हें सीखना होगा तो तुम्हें ये कॉन्सेप्ट इस पर्टिकुलर वेबसाइट से सीखना पड़ेगा, वो कॉन्सेप्ट उस पर्टिकुलर वेबसाइट से सीखना पड़ेगा, ये किसी तुम्हें यूडेमी के कोर्स में मिलेगा, ये किसी यूडासिटी के कोर्स में मिलेगा. एंड दैट इज हाउ आई एंडेड अप लर्निंग, बिकॉज आई हैड टू जंप फ्रॉम ऑप्शन टू ऑप्शन बिकॉज मेरे पास अच्छे ऑप्शंस थे नहीं. लाइक आई डिडंट नो अ वन स्टॉप शॉप, so I want to create that one stop shop, and I will be creating that once this course is over. So any other questions? हाँ, ओके. सो एज यू गाइस सी, यहाँ पे मैंने क्या किया, मैंने थोड़ा ईथर यहाँ पे डाल दिया ऐसे ही. यार ये क्या हो रहा है? ठीक है यार, छोड़ो, तुम ये कर लो तो हो जाएगा सही से, डोंट वरी. हाँ, ओके. सो इससे हो जाता है. आई हैव डन इट बिफोर, ट्रस्ट मी. यू कैन क्लिक ऑन डिप्लॉय एंड वो सही से हो भी जाएगा. सो इट्स नॉट एन इशू. तो या ये तुम ट्राई कर लेना. Do you guys have any other doubts regarding what we covered in class or what we are doing here in terms of projects? I hope मेरे expectations clear है. The guys who are writing the code, you can copy paste the code and send it to me, and the contract address जहाँ पे तुम deploy करते हो, this has to be on the Ropsten test network. Don't put it on the main network. तुम्हारे पैसे जाएंगे, मतलब तुम डाल ही नहीं पाओगे क्योंकि तुम्हें एक्चुअल इथेरियम पे करना पड़ेगा. Put it on the Ropsten test network. वहां से ईथर कैसे लेना है, देयर इज अ फॉसेट वेबसाइट जहाँ पे तुम्हें ईथर का अकाउंट डालना होता है एंड वो डाल देता है. ओके. सो अब बिकॉज आई पुट इन टू मेनी रिक्वेस्ट इन द लास्ट फ्यू मिनट्स ये ऐसे हुआ है. इट वोंट हैपन फॉर यू गाइस, ट्रस्ट मी. एंड जब तुम ये करोगे तब यू कैन डू ऑल ऑफ दीज फंक्शंस फ्रॉम हियर और थ्रू द सिम्बा चेन का एप्लीकेशन. दैट इज ऑल्सो टोटली कूल. इफ यू आर डूइंग इट फ्रॉम सिम्बा चेन, then send the account address, then send the contract address, and along with that send this graph ka screenshot, the graph ka screenshot you make. Oops. Okay. Yeah, so either do it using Remix or you do it using this. अगर सिम्बा से कर रहे हो तो ये स्क्रीनशॉट भेजना, कोड भेजना, और जब डिप्लॉय करोगे तब उस अकाउंट का उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का एड्रेस भेजना. So those are the 3 things. Is it clear? Any other doubts you guys have? Anything about this project?
अच्छा, I just read it somewhere that अगर तुम्हें मतलब Solidity इन पे काम करना है तो you need to know थोड़ा वेब डेवलपमेंट, अगर उस जोन में जाना है पूरा तो क्यों, so we need to have a knowledge of web development like अच्छे से, या फिर बस थोड़ा थोड़ा पता होना चाहिए.
The reason people say web development आना चाहिए is because of 2 things. The first thing is because Solidity as a language is very similar to JavaScript. So if you know WebD and most of WebD is JavaScript, then you can easily port your skills to Solidity. And the second thing is जब तुम स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बनाते हो वो बस बैकएंड बनता है, फ्रंट एंड तो स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से बनता नहीं है. तो तुम्हें फ्रंट एंड बनाने के लिए कोई तो वेबसाइट पता, कोई तो वेब फ्रेमवर्क पता होना चाहिए. एंड फॉर दैट रीजन पीपल से तुम्हें वेब डेव आना चाहिए. दैट doesn't mean कि you have to learn web dev first and you can do it the other way around. Although अगर तुम्हें कोई कोडिंग आता ही नहीं है, then I would prefer कि तुम कोई ऐसे established language सीखो पहले, JavaScript सीखो, Python सीखो, C++ सीखो, and then move on to Solidity. But if you are cool with those things, if you have understood कैसे चलता है, things like that, if you've already done C++ before, if you're from CS background, then I would suggest you can pick up Solidity and from there you can learn. Is it a good idea to do it in Python? Python से smart contracts बनते ही नहीं है. It has to be in Solidity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you say about like what would be your opinion on coding blockchain without any like Ethereum network background, like as in not using the Ethereum smart contract क्या बोलते हैं network and doing it on your own, बिल्कुल like from the source, from scratch basically.
Achha, I didn't exactly get your question. When you mean do it from your own, do you mean doing it using some sort of application like Simba which handles a lot of stuff for you, or do you mean own as in
नहीं, from the scratch as in using your own programming language बिना किसी Ethereum के network के या बिना किसी Solidity के?
भाई Solidity के बिना smart contract बनते ही नहीं है. Smart contract की language Solidity ही है.
नहीं, I'm saying like not making smart contracts, but like maybe making your own cryptocurrency or stuff like that.
I would यार देखो बात ऐसी है, cryptocurrency बनाना and things like that is quite hard. So I would suggest learn how to make smart contracts first, and then you can move on to making your own cryptocurrency, because that is a whole different ballgame. And you need to have your CS fundamentals pretty good. You also need to understand some game theory. You also need to understand some economics ki how will people use your token, those things like that. Then what was Viper? Yes, it is another language which is similar to Python. So yeah, so either learn Solidity or Viper, but it's not Python, it's Viper. It's like Java versus JavaScript. They're two completely different languages. Yeah, so I think that answered the other person's question. I don't know your name, sorry for that. कि तुम पहले क्रिप्टोकरेंसी मत बनाओ, तुम पहले इथेरियम पे कुछ डेवलप करके देखो ताकि तुम्हारे फंडामेंटल्स सही से हो जाए. यू विल बी एबल टू यूज एन एस्टैब्लिश्ड थिंग, एंड उधर से इफ यू वांट टू ब्रांच आउट, बाय ऑल मींस कर लो. By the way, what's the name of the guy asking it? I'm really sorry, I didn't catch it.
Me for
Yeah, you.
Shrey.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. कॉम्प्री खत्म हो गई ना?
नहीं, अभी मिडसेम्स खत्म हुए.
अच्छा, okay, nice. Sagar asked some issue was going on with WazirX day before yesterday's they blocked the Doge trading. यार ये मुझे नहीं पता exactly क्या हुआ. But if this is anything similar to how Robinhood blocked buying the GameStop stock, then I think that is because उनके पास उतने पैसे नहीं थे on hand to be able to buy it, and for that reason they probably blocked it because people were just buying it like crazy. I know people जिनको कोई idea ही नहीं है कि यार क्या होता है cryptocurrency वगैरह, and they just wanted to buy Doge just for the sake of it. So I can see why people would block it, because A, it's unsafe, and B, because centralized exchanges fall prey to the point of it being like it's built in a way that the small person finds it very hard to win. It's easy for the big companies to win. So वो issue हो जाता है. Acha, yeah, I'm not on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not on all of these social media websites for some reason. Yeah. But yeah, I will look into it and I'll see exactly kya tha, and if I can find anything about it, I'll message you. Oh, acha. Okay. Cool. Then so I'll create an assignment on the Google Classroom का page. उसके हिसाब से तुम लोग तुम्हारा जो भी है डाल देना, एक sort of word file बना देना जहाँ पे एक picture है of this thing, or if you're not using that, copy pasting the code and putting the smart contract का account, वो दोनों चीजें डाल देना and upload it. I'll put it up today. Try to get it done by Friday. And if possible Friday के पहले ही करना, because if everybody submits it like Friday night or like Saturday morning, then I have to correct all of them and get it ready by Saturday's class, and I also have to make slides. So if it's possible, try to get it done during the week itself, Wednesday, Thursday तक. उस हिसाब से like I can get it corrected properly and give you feedback. So that is there, and you can choose any use case you want. You can make it as complex as you want. You can keep it as chill like an integer if you want. But I want to show you, like the point of this thing is to show you how a smart contract is deployed right from ideation. So thinking of what you want to do, thinking of how you can write it, things like that, to actual development, to deployment. So all of those things, and then testing also at the end of it. Okay, once you are done here, you can see all of the functions you can call. So I can call store, and then it will call store, and I'll confirm, and then it will change its value. So वो just testing aspect होता है, वो भी यहाँ से ही हो जाता है. So that is one thing I wanted to show. So please do that and let me know how it goes. So a year back, some guy died without making his private key known to anyone. Oh damn, sad dude. There's also some guy right now, na, ki matlab, he has some triple digit millions of dollars in Bitcoin, but he forgot his key and he has 2 attempts left or something like that. I remember reading that, which is damn sad. Cool. Cool, yeah, good stuff, guys. It's 10:45, so I'll end it here today. If you guys have any doubts regarding the assignment, anything like that, put the message on the group. The reason I'm saying group pe dalo is because other people might have the same question. So sabka answer ek saath hi ho jayega. Like that's better than PMing. So we can do that. And yeah, have a good time, guys, and stay safe. Bye bye.